Minute late in starting, but we'll call our meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All of you received our minutes, financials, and the agenda on email. Are there any questions, changes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I do so.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, public comment. Would anybody like to say anything, Troy? No?
I said enough yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. All right, well, if there being none, we will move on to update from the president. Lana? Morning, Sam.
Good morning. Okay, prospects, 8-18-1. As a reminder, the numbering system indicates 8 was the month it was received, 18 is the year, and this was the first project that we received in August. It has been affectionately titled Project Birmingham by Steve Cottrell, which has nothing to do with the prospect. He just likes to name them after towns he's been to and likes. So it is a large production facility. We've enlisted all of our partners, including obviously the county, the city of Garden City, the city of Holcomb, and the community college to create a full spectrum proposal for them. And we have submitted that. I submitted that as of last Friday, and we're continuing to provide updated information to them. 7-18-1. Excuse me, is an industrial company. Visited with them some over the telephone. They provide a service that we certainly need in the community. They actually did get some sites from a local realtor and did come visit, and we're hoping that we hear back from them in the next 30 to 60 days. They're considering sites in 2 Kansas communities, and I think obviously we put our best proposal forward, and I feel confident that they'll be pleased with what we sent. For 18-2, this was a project that we began working with when they were looking at purchasing an existing business here. They have completed that purchase and have now started planning the expansions and their workforce. They have been able to find a sales manager and a general manager already, which is good, and we'll continue to work with them. They do have our tax abatement information, the application, and the policy, and they may very well choose to apply for a tax abatement, as they're planning to do somewhere around $2 million in upgrades to the facility.
What kind of employment opportunities would be there for that?
The types of jobs or the number of jobs?
The number of jobs.
Number of jobs, they anticipate somewhere around 10 to 12 direct jobs, and then there's a lot of trucking related to it as well. Okay. No update on any of the Department of Commerce RFPs that we've responded to. Founders Brewhouse is looking amazing. If you haven't been by there, yesterday we stopped by to go over some of the logo creation that Shannon's been working on for them. We're helping them with their branding strategy. And we went over to take a look and see what the progress is. The front of that building looks amazing. So if you haven't been by there, take a drive by. He said, John told us if it didn't rain, he thought he'd have it done today, but it rained. So I guess that gives us till tomorrow. So keep a lookout. It really is looking amazing. That's going to be a really nice addition to downtown. Pinky's has found a location that they believe is going to be their permanent home. They've got contractors looking at it now to determine what all it's going to require for renovations. So we'll keep working with them as they move towards that.
Is that downtown?
Yes, it is in the core district. Yes.
Okay.
Project Rochester. This was from 11-17. This was one where we had a gentleman come to us who was interested in developing a parcel of ground, and we. The city and our offices worked with them to give them some various ideas on it. They've now purchased all of the property that they were hoping to purchase, which includes 2 different parcels, and they are interested in developing the entire parcel, even though they really only have a need for one portion of that. So we've actually presented designs to 3 businesses that we knew had an interest in that specific area. And we'll continue to work with them. Over the next 2 weeks, we've got meetings set up with all three of them again to see if everybody is interested in moving forward. 516.3, I will be traveling to Wisconsin tomorrow, actually, with 3 ag producers to visit some operations that are similar to what we're proposing to these gentlemen. And so we'll go take a look tomorrow, and everybody's going to cross their fingers that I get there and back. That'll be good. Senior living community, things are really good over there, obviously. I visited with some of their staff just the other day, and they're really excited to get all the operations moved over there and get everything moving forward. So we're very excited for them. Transload, we do quarterly conference calls with KDOT, just kind of checking the temperature and seeing what the status is of the transload facility because they invested so heavily in it. Obviously, it's important to them to make sure that they're getting the results they'd hoped for. We're very fortunate that our transload facility has stayed completely full since they built it, so that's certainly a good thing. But we do recognize that there's going to be some really good opportunities moving forward once the wind kind of slows down and we have a little more space available. We'll have some opportunities to go into more warehousing and distribution type projects. So Nicole has been working very closely with Jim and Billy from TPNL to create a really nice marketing piece that KDOT will have available, but obviously that we'll have on our website and that we'll utilize to market that.
Is there a plan for their dispersing those windmills out there? You know, how far out will they start? When will the ground start becoming available?
Right now, it's fully booked through 2021.
Okay.
Okay. There are obviously opportunities to pick up additional properties adjacent to it if it's necessary to do that. But as of right now, most of what they have there is in safe harbor. So it's been purchased in advance of projects simply to take advantage of the production tax credit. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Well, I was kind of wondering if it will remain full for till 2021 or if they will start moving some of those turbines out of here. If that's...
We do have some opportunities. They have other logistic parks, obviously. If we had a project that needed to move rapidly and we needed to make space for them, we can work with them to accommodate that. There would certainly be opportunities for them to clear space for us as necessary to accommodate projects. But as it's been so far, things timing-wise, it's been okay. That it's been completely full, but certainly they're going to make the most and best use of that property. So if there's an opportunity to develop something further that creates additional freight, that certainly is good for everyone.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Entrepreneurial support, we've been really fortunate the last couple of months actually with local folks who have an interest in starting businesses and with some local businesses that are looking for opportunities to expand their lines or to even relocate to create better opportunities for themselves. One of those that we've been working with is actually not in the core district right now, but is very interested in moving to the core district. We've met with her several times and suggested some good partnerships that we think would be good, not just for the co-location in a large building, but also because they would really do a nice job of complementing one another and I think help both businesses to do better. So we'll continue to work with them. Another one who's looking at starting a niche retail business, and hopefully you guys saw the Greater Garden City story that came out over the last week. Downtown Vision and our offices worked together with Ryan Klaus from Klaus Wood Pellets, and he's going into the former DeVita building. They're on the corner right in front of our offices, so we're very excited for them. He has a Traeger dealership, and we'll be moving into that building and being able to offer Kansas-made products and anything you can think of related to barbecue and wood pellets, obviously. So we're very excited for him. Shannon was able to design a logo for them and help them with some of their branding, and they're actually jumping right in and working on some big opportunities to bring a lot of folks to town with some various barbecue contests and that kind of stuff. So we've met with them a few times over the past week to help move that forward. So we're very excited to have them in downtown. I think it's going to be a nice addition to have a more male-oriented business, if you will, in the downtown district to create some additional traffic. July and August were very, very busy months. We got to present to the Realtors Association July 25th, and that was very nice and went very well. We also have a prospect that we're working with on a site in Holcomb, and we took them out with the landowner and showed them the site, and then worked with their design professional to create an actual site layout and show them how their potential building could fit there and so forth. So we're very pleased about that. We've met with Catholic Charities a couple of times. They are, at this point, taking over the resettlement of our refugees and the services to the refugees that are already here. So we're working closely with them to ensure that if there's anything we can be doing to help in that process, we're doing that. We did have them come downtown and look at a building. They're actually needing a larger space, and we connected them with a building owner, and they came down and looked at it last week. So we'll see how that goes, but we appreciate them stepping up to the table, and we'll do what we can to assist with that. Presentation to the Realtors Land Institute. Nicole had gotten a call 2 months ago, I think, from a group that is really kind of just getting started in Kansas. They're pretty strong in Colorado, which is where most of the realtors were from that came out to this, but they brought realtors in, primarily land and farm real estate realtors, into the community. They did tours. Nicole helped them to set up tours of TP&L, Conestoga.
They wanted to do the dairy, but couldn't.
Yeah, and they did some stuff at the community college. But anyway, we were able to present to them on Friday, August the 3rd, and it was very well received. They were very pleased to have the opportunity to come out to Garden City, and all of them said they anticipate that this will kind of become their headquarters, if you will, for Kansas meetings. So that was encouraging for us. Thank you to all of you who were able to attend the Palmer Tank launch. We're excited for them to be back up and running, and I visited with Steve Obrate last week, and they're getting closer to having computers working and everything else, so we're excited for them. And they will be firing up and hiring additional employees. We have a meeting scheduled with them with Workforce One to make sure that we're assisting them as much as we can with getting the proper workforce and getting the training taken care of for them as well. We're working with a local gentleman who is a soccer coach, but has some opportunities to actually create a development league. Very similar to, if you guys remember, Sporting KC, that's really what they were looking at with our Starbond district, was to create a development league for soccer. And this gentleman has really taken off in his first year or so of working with local kids, and has an opportunity to partner up with Sporting Wichita and Sporting KC. So we're helping him to find locations that will work for his training, and to be able to provide any support that we can to ensure that those kids get the opportunities to continue to move through that process. We did go back to Haskell County earlier this month and did a little more strategic planning with them, and very excited about the things that they're looking at, and they've got, I think, some renewed interest in things that they can do that will complement the things that are happening in Finney County, obviously, but also things they can do on their own to really build themselves up. And the meetings go on. All right, coming up, I will, again, tomorrow I'll be in Wisconsin. I will be back in the office Friday morning. And then the following week, the first week of September, I will be at Georgetown University in DC for the Qualified Opportunity Zones. We're supposed to be, everybody's hopeful that we're going to have full IRS guidance by that point, that will allow us to fully understand how we can develop those projects and how best to manage the funds themselves. Just as an update, I do serve now on the Live Well Finney County Board of Directors. Those meetings are monthly, and they're held here in Garden City. Fortunately, they're at the end of the day, so it's not a huge time commitment. I've also been selected to serve on the Workforce One Board of Directors. Those meet quarterly in Great Bend, and Commissioner Larry Jones also serves on that. So he's excited because he said I can be his travel buddy now, so I don't even have to drive for that, and that's good. And then I've also been selected to serve on the advisory board to the Kansas Entrepreneurial Network. And that is a group that really has just started forming themselves to really push for policy initiatives that are favorable to entrepreneurs in Kansas. Most of those meetings will be by telephone, but some will require travel during legislative session, obviously to provide testimony and policy guidance to legislators. And I'm going to quit because I'm worn out, and I assume you are too.
We wouldn't have to worry about her staying busy.
No, I think her schedule's pretty well filled up.
What are you gonna do tomorrow is what I'm wondering. Oh, you're not flying, that's
I'm
right.
flying,
Travel,
yeah.
Travel.
All right,
The next day.
Any questions for anything that Lana covered?
very good report.
There are,
Lots going on.
it's amazing, you go by the office just about any time, and there are always a lot of things happening, and many things going on, and it's good to see the activity that's going on in downtown Garden City as well as the surrounding part of the city. So things keep going like that, why it looks like we'll stay busy for a while. So, all right, with that, all that stuff that comes up in business and everything, always comes up a question about workforce. So Nicole, that's your deal.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Last week I was invited by Chuck Pfeiffer out at the college to come out and meet with some Tyson. I got this one.
Oh.
You want me really loud?
Hold on, no, it's not on. Okay, I didn't hear you.
Okay. I was invited to come out and meet with some Tyson executives from Arkansas. They are out here to, they've reached an agreement with the college to purchase some of the ammonia refrigeration equipment. So they were out kind of going through what they were going to be able to use as they clear out the annex out there with that equipment. The local program, Garden City Ammonia Program, was able to go out and go through and get some stuff that they thought that they could utilize. So they were allowed to go in, and then obviously they met the agreement with Tyson. They're not really, he's not using the equipment to train with down in Arkansas. They're actually purchasing the equipment as Tyson is getting to the point where they need people to repair the equipment, and where most of the training programs are how to operate the ammonia equipment, but not really how to repair. So he's teaching these guys how to tear them apart and put them back together, as that's a huge need for Tyson right now. So it was great to meet with him. He used to play baseball here in Garden City, so he knew a lot about Garden City, but he was a great guy. Moving forward with that, we're able to come to a partnership there with our local Tyson, as they will be utilizing the college for all of their industrial maintenance training. They have a contract employee basically that works at Tyson, but also is with the college, so he'll be running all of their employees through their training there. And Tyson, I believe, donated around $200,000 worth of equipment for the industrial maintenance program. So I think it was a good trade out for them. We also, Shannon and I went and met with Chuck probably not quite a month ago, toured the annex building as a possible partnership, hopefully with the Makerspace to come about. We're working pretty closely with them on hopefully we can get some good partnerships going with the classes that the Makerspace is offering and utilizing the college's facilities. I also, last week or 2 weeks ago, attended the first faculty meeting for Tech Ed. Obviously, there's a lot of changes right now at the college, so it was a good meeting. I think they're all very positive about moving forward, but we will be continuing to help the Tech Ed instructors with recruiting and marketing, obviously. They have Fridays off, and that's what they do, is they go out and they recruit to the schools, and they're very, very good about getting into the smaller rural schools, but they really don't have much of a presence here locally in our schools. So it's kind of one of those things, I think they took it for granted, is like, well, obviously these kids know we have these programs. Well, these kids don't know that the
They're
college
looking
has these,
elsewhere,
and they're
aren't they?
going elsewhere. So we've kind of been able to work with them of like, I meet with the advisors at least once a month. at the high school, so it's gonna give us an opportunity to get back in front of them and really push the program. So hopefully moving forward, we'll make some headway there. Last week, we kind of got the, I guess, rules lined out for the community closet, which is going to be located at the Community Services Building. We have actually quite a bit of donations received for the closet for clothes. I think we're going to figure out the actual logistics of how many days a week it will be operated and what the hours will be. It's a referral-only basis. It was all about, twice a year, how many outfits that they can choose, but hopefully to get that up and running in the next month.
Where's the intake for that?
The intake?
Where the clothes?
Drop off, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, in our office.
That's in your spare room.
Yeah, that could fill up in a hurry.
Okay.
So we kind of need to come up with some hangers and get them back out there, which won't take long to do. But we've actually had quite a few phone calls of people asking, just like, I don't necessarily want to take them to Goodwill, or I really want them to go to somebody in need. And so now that we have this program, we've had quite a few people that have said, hey, yeah, we'll go through stuff and donate. So it's basically really only professional type wear. We're not looking for baby clothes or anything like that. So
You say you're looking for hangers?
we do need hangers.
I will help you.
All right.
If somebody can come out, or we throw tons of them away.
Okay.
At Crazy House.
Awesome. We'll come out and pick them up.
Well, I mean, I can bring it, whatever.
Okay.
We've got a garage, so we really can
Okay,
take them if
good.
somebody can bring
Because
them.
we're always throwing them away, and they're good.
Don't ever do that
Good
again.
hangers.
Don't ever do that again.
Okay.
So these clothes, are you looking for women and men?
Yes.
And
We actually have a lot of women's clothes right now and not a lot of men's, so
Okay.
we could use the men's clothing. And actually, that's probably the need is greater for the men.
Okay.
I wear a 42 long.
Well, you and I will cover two different groups. All right, that sounds good.
And I finished 2 marketing pieces for a couple of large real estate properties here in town. Shannon will talk more about that on the contract services, but those are finished. One of them has already been presented to Marty Nusser, so he has it. The other one, we're kind of still in the approval phase. And like Lana said, also working on the transload thing, which segues into Shannon's portion. But
Very good.
any questions?
Clothes mostly for like homeless people looking to get into the job market? or
Actually,
is
it came about with
lower
this
income?
special populations group of, especially the corrections group that just, they don't have the means to go and they need to
Look
be able
professional when
to.
they go.
Yes, they need to be able to
present.
present themselves. So that's kind of what it came about. But we also have a huge issue with the high school kids. So, I mean, there's also, we kind of open it up for them too if they need to go do it. We've done some what not to wear type things with the high school kids. But, I mean, it really is. It's just I don't think it's in front of their faces every day, so they don't understand that, no, it's not okay to wear sweatpants to a job interview. So it's just, it's a process.
Well, and many of them are very positive too. I don't want to make it sound like they're all negative situations. We've had folks who have really worked hard to get a good job. Either they're new to the community, or perhaps they've had a bad situation in a life-changing situation, but they've been able to find good employment. Unfortunately, they just don't have enough clothes to get them through even the first week of work. So for us, it's very important that if we can create that closet, we have that opportunity to really help somebody not just be able to get a job, but also honestly to be able to perform in their job and to feel good about themselves while they're performing in that job. So I think it's just another opportunity that we recognized was a need, specifically through the special populations group, because so many of those folks, as a reminder, those are the folks who are coming from DCF or the corrections. They've had a relationship with corrections at some point, or they're immigrants or refugees. Really, anybody who has any barrier to employment is who we're trying to address through that group. So we found very rapidly that appropriate clothing was absolutely a barrier for many of those folks. So this is just an opportunity for us to be able to fix that without spending any money, and we appreciate that. So the community college is actually the welding program is actually going to design a special clothing rack that they'll build specifically to fit the room that Community Corrections made available for us over at the Community Services Center. So it really is, it's a nice partnership, and it's a good way for all of us to come together and give to those who are less fortunate and help them with getting opportunities that we need everyone to have.
I think it's really a good deal to go from, we need more employees, to start drilling down and saying, what are the obstacles to employment? And start chipping away at each one of these things and coming up with that kind of plan. That's very, very good.
Well, you know, we heard that over and over in communities, and in the workforce world, quote unquote, you hear that a lot, that folks who are unemployed in a marketplace like ours that has less than 3% unemployment, the common phrase is, those that are unemployed are unemployable. And we just refuse to accept that. We believe there are opportunities for anyone who chooses to work, and they may be more of a challenge for certain, but you know, a lot of the folks that we work with the special populations are even, you know, Mosaic is really active in the special populations group. And their client base really wants to work, but they're very limited in the hours that they can work. And so we've really kind of made a commitment that we're going to find those opportunities and even create those opportunities if we can, to allow anybody who wants to be a part of the workforce and of the good things that are happening here. We want to really change that mantra of they're unemployable, because I just don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, I agree with that most of them are not unemployable by choice. It's just circumstance or whatever, so.
We would agree.
Okay, very
You
good.
mentioned-
Any other questions?
You mentioned welding. I forgot to mention, the welding program and the John Deere program at the college are both on wait lists. So that's a good problem to have. It's a great example of working with them and saying, if you will offer the programs that this community needs, they will be full. So they are on a wait list. The welding guys were like, they keep calling in and wanting in, and I have to tell them no. I hate to tell them no, but we could only do so much at one time. So we're hoping to meet with Chuck in the college to hopefully move forward with some opportunities to help them out with some of those issues. So
how many students do they have in the welding program now? Is it
I
20,
think-
25?
No, I think they can actually run 50 through.
Really?
And they can do two classes.
Okay. Good. That's
Yep.
good numbers then, if
Yep.
that's a wait list.
Yeah.
Darn good numbers.
They've been very creative. Actually, when they first started, it was a pretty normal college schedule, if you will, and they recognized pretty rapidly that there were very specific needs depending on what type of welding the student was going into and what type of job opportunities they were looking for. So they really got creative over the last couple of years, and their welding instructors have been great about creating short-term classes, and you know, if they just needed a stainless class and those kinds of things, they've been really good at being flexible and creating the opportunities. And that's increased the number of students they can take, but like Nicole said, it's obviously made it more user-friendly, and it's filled it up as well. So that's a good thing.
Has that been pushed out to high school as well, because they got quite the facilities?
Yes,
But
and
it
that
sounds
is the
good.
one program I think that really does have an excellent partnership with the high school. And I think it's partly because the welding guys at the college kind of helped design the welding lab at the high school, and so they have a pretty good working relationship with each other. I believe that the high school runs about 20 through per class, and I can't remember. We went there this summer and talked with him, and I thought he told us they had between 60 and 80 kids a year that went through a welding class at the high school. With that, though, they're also up a level too, I think. They're able to offer some certifications coming out of the high school, which makes them actually ready, almost too ready for the college. It's maybe a little redundant, but like she said, they've been able to tweak the programs enough. But that is the one program that they are able to pull out of the high school, just because our reputation at the college with the welding program is very good. The guys that they have hired on are awesome.
Okay. Well, Scott, it's kind of like talk this, see what you've got for Greater Garden City.
Now for the important stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all got a copy of my report?
We need one down there.
Two of them. That is.
I think that's the one you gave me.
Oh,
Got it.
It's below there, Phil. You need some
oh,
help.
okay. Not paying attention. Sorry, Scott.
No problem. So this month for the website, we've had about 6,700 visits. The top things people looked at were the story that Lana mentioned before about the Klaus Wood Pellets business getting open downtown. Also had strong views of Governor Collier's visit to Palmer Tank and the Lakin and Deerfield bike share program, which I'm sure you've read already. No? No, okay. Social media wise, on Facebook pages, the Journal had about 1,600 average post reach. Greater Garden City's Facebook page had about 8,800 average reach. And you can see down below some of the top stories were Klaus Wood Pellets, the Palmer Tank story, the new giraffe baby at the zoo, and the bike share program. I also should mention that this month I wrote a story for Pablo Candida for the Spanish, English, I'm not sure of the name of the newspaper, but it's over there in Dodge City. I wrote a story about Garden City's growth over the last 5 years, and that's going to publish sometime in early September, kind of highlighting us over in Dodge City, which is nice. And if you look on the other page, we've talked about creating sponsorship opportunities for greatergardencity.com. The first page is just kind of an introduction. The second page gets into our ideas for pricing. As you can see there, the annual, semi-annual, and quarterly. And we also included some sample ad sizes. Anything I'm missing about that? Lana?
No, I think that's an excellent report. I think from our standpoint, it was really important that we made sure we were right in that there was definitely a need for the website itself and for pushing out the good news stories. I think that the numbers speak for themselves, and the fact that the first year was so well received by the public, it really has kind of become the place of choice when folks are looking for what types of things are happening in the community or looking for specific events. We know that they're going to that calendar. We hear that a lot. We see that a lot. It's been really encouraging that we'll see somebody post something on Facebook, for instance, saying, does anybody know if anything's happening this weekend? My grandkids are going to be in town. And invariably somebody will comment back with a link to the Greater Garden City calendar. And that's just very encouraging because I know it's a lot of work. Shannon and Scott do a tremendous amount of work going out and populating that calendar. But it is working the way we'd hoped it would. We're getting a lot of folks now who call us and say, hey, I'm going to have an event and I wanted to make sure I could get it on your calendar. Is there someone I can talk to? So, and we get several emailed in and that type of thing. So that's very exciting. But because we know it works and because we know that the viewers are there, we've also had a lot of folks asking us about the opportunity to sponsor it and to have their business mentioned on the page. So I think it creates a really good opportunity for us to generate some revenue to offset some of the costs related to the website. So I did visit with Matt Allen a little bit about just how we might want to set that up. In the municipal world, those are called an enterprise fund that you can take income in to offset. Obviously, for us, we wanted to ensure that we were setting it up properly for our tax purposes. Fortunately, Matt volunteered Melinda Hitz to sit down with us and set that up appropriately to make sure we don't have any issues with that. So we'll get that set up, and I think once that's in place, Scott and Shannon particularly, but certainly Nicole and I as well, will have the opportunity to really promote the opportunities to sponsor on the website. So a huge kudos go to Scott and to Shannon, because without Shannon's vision, I don't think this ever would have been a reality. But he was right. He knew that people were hungry for good news and that people surprisingly actually enjoy reading good news and like to share good news. So it has absolutely changed the dynamic that we even see on social media in the community. And that's a very positive thing. So I couldn't thank them enough for what they've done in that regard.
You kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are your plans for marketing and
Graphic design?
yeah, well, not so much graphic design because I've seen some of the stuff that Shannon does, but what are your plans for marketing the ads or sponsorships or whatever you want to call them.
You know, like I said, we've had a lot of requests from the business world to be a part of it, so I think we'll have some that will be very natural. And I think once the first few start showing up, we'll have more of those as people realize they're available. Obviously, the website will have its own, you know, blip about the fact that sponsorships are now available. Scott will do a little story on that and that kind of thing. But truly, where we come up with it most is when we're meeting with existing businesses, and they say, you know, hey, that's a really cool website. We like that, and we know people are reading it. Can we be a part of that? So Nicole and Scott sat down and talked through numbers as far as, you know, what that should cost, and we looked at per click and those kinds of things. So I think we've settled on some good numbers. It's hard to know, you know, just how much of that will sell. There's some opportunities to add various sponsorships, so it's fairly unlimited what we can do with it. But I think most of it's going to be pretty natural. It's not really going to require cold calling and making sales, if you will.
It'll come by itself, right?
I think so. Again, when, you know, Nicole and I spend a lot of time with existing businesses in the community, and I think just because of those relationships and speaking, also the speaking engagements we do, you know, Lions Club and Rotary and realtors and the builders, there's a lot of opportunities to let folks know about it and let them come if they choose to.
You mentioned earlier about the work Shannon was doing for some of the new businesses in town. Are we receiving any compensation for that type of work that we're doing? Okay,
During
good.
his report.
Ah, good, thank you.
Good. Any other questions for Scott? Anything?
Good job, Scott.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Scott.
Good plan.
Keep doing what you do.
That segue.
Yeah, Shannon, if you want to just pick up and go on from there, what?
Well, let me answer your question here, Phil.
Since you asked.
There's only two of these, and they're both different, so you can kind of take a look at those. The other ones, I have one for each of you. So I get, like Phil was asking here, and good morning.
Good morning.
What I have here is just a sample of some of the work that we've been doing that we've been compensated for outside of just the normal partnership that we have with our organizations. Some of this you've already seen, so I'll start with the one that you haven't seen because that's probably the one that you're going to start looking at anyway. And that's this little branding sheet that we have worked on for Klaus Wood Pellets. And so this is just an example of a quick, they're coming into market, they need to get it off on the right foot, and then we can assist them with that kind of initial branding sort of thing where we can help them, well, they pick the colors in this case, but help them with color choices, some logo design, and some of that initial branding stuff. And so we have a sheet that outlines what we can offer and at what levels, what kind of pricing that is. And we have that priced at a place that compensates the time that it takes to work on this, but it definitely is not at a premium price either. It's a very affordable service that we can provide. But the other thing on the other side of that is it just gets them off on the right foot. I mean, if they're going to look for somebody to make ads or stuff like that, they need to go talk to the marketing companies and agencies that we have in town to do that. So we do offer that initial branding piece there. The two other examples that I have of the ones that got passed around is just some examples of data contract services that we've done. The water report, we talked about this last time. This is just an example of the city already collecting data and wanting to take better advantage of the data that they're already collecting. So I worked with Fred in the water department to come and make this report that went out in the city water bill so that people can get a handle of how much water they're using and so forth. So that's an example of an organization has some data, they just need to do something with that data and make better use of that data. So we were able to contract out and do some services for that. The other example that I have here is a CIP. And have you seen this sheet before. I don't remember if I've talked about this in the board meeting or not.
I haven't seen it.
So that CIP sheet, so the CIP process for the city is the community improvement projects. So we have all these projects that have come out from the city departments or from the public. And what it is a series of nights that the community gets together. They bring in the professionals, so we bring in the director for the cemetery, we bring in Jason from Buffalo Dunes, and they talk about the projects that are going to be happening in the next 7 years or so. And then after they get done talking about their projects, the community gets together and rates how important those projects are. And then after those ratings are done, we compile the data, turn it into reports, turn it into bite-sized pieces of information, and then it goes to the city commission, the city staff, to kind of get a feeling about what's the public perception about the importance of each of these projects that are in the pipeline. And so one of the reasons, or one of the ways that this was used recently was when we talked about the sales tax and what issues should be addressed on that sales tax that was passed. The city really looked at, well, what has been doing well in the CIP? Because we know we have general public support there. And so it allowed them to kind of pick projects that they had confidence in that would have good support to address that sales tax. So the CIP is an example of what I do with that is I help set up how those questions are getting asked. How do we collect the data with the little clickers? How do we make sure we don't have biased data? Because if we have groups say that there's some really big people who really like recreation or airports or something, and they only come for the airport night and rate everything up the highest possible. Well, how do we make sure we don't have special groups come in and just kind of railroad the process for the thing? So we put in safeguards, and they're mathematical safeguards on those sort of things. So this is an example of where we kind of get in at the beginning of the process, help with the data collection, help with making sure the analysis is all good, and then also help with the dissemination of the information to the proper people. So that's another example of the contract services that we provide. And then also there's a little pamphlet that was passed around, and that's, Nicole's been working on that with a little, kind of like highlighting some of those larger properties that are available. And the idea with that is some of those big ones, if we need to get that information out to larger corporations, it kind of helps if we kind of put together a whole packet about not just the property itself, but also things about Garden City. What's your trade area? What's the distribution? All that kind of thing. And so Nicole's been working on those, and those look really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another contract service that we can provide to get that one extra step where they can work with not just the property, but also the economic development on those sorts of things. So those are some examples.
And to better answer the question, do we get paid for any of this? Yes, we do. The city of Garden City has been very aggressive in their partnerships with us.
Okay.
Again, as Shannon explained, because they simply need the best information they can get, and they need to ensure that it's as efficient and as accurate as possible. So they've done a very good job of reaching out to us and partnering on projects. The county has done some of that. And then there are some private individuals, for instance, the Klauswood Pellets, they paid for that service of us creating the logo and being able to help them with their branding. We do not want to compete with area businesses. If there's somebody who is doing those projects, those types of projects, we certainly don't want to compete with that. But what we have found is that there is not. It's very difficult for folks to find anyone who's doing that type of work. Even website creation is a real challenge right now. So we've had a couple of folks who have reached out to us to see if we would be able to help with that. So we're careful, obviously, about what we enter into specifically with the private sector, but on the public sector side, truly anything that we're capable of doing, we're happy to do with our partners and the school district or anyone else. We've had a lot of discussions specifically related to demographics and to trends that they see in the school district, for instance. So anytime that we can be available to help understand that information, that's just knowledge is power. So we obviously want to be available anytime we can to help with that.
Very good. Well done.
Question?
Oh, very well done.
good
If
piece
you
of,
tried to understand what's going on in this, I can do that at a different time. So there's some positive numbers, there's some negative numbers, there's red color coding and all that stuff. I can do a whole meeting about that. Maybe that might be one of the things we talked about in one of those, because the CIP process is coming up again for the city here really soon. So
I think it would be good to have that kind of information, I'm gonna say to the public, to have something like this that says, okay, here's what has happened in the past. And here's what they'll be looking at when you read and you hear all about this. It doesn't just randomly, hey, we think we ought to do one of these.
right.
It is a compilation of lots and lots of input.
And we've talked about having Scott, because we have that opportunity to communicate with the broader
Right.
public. We've talked about having Scott do stories when there's opportunities. And I mean, the city is very aggressive about trying to get people engaged in that process, but it's hard. It's a commitment. It's several nights, during a few months, and it's a commitment. But once people do it, Vicki German is a great example. Now she can't stay away. So it's one of those things that once you do it, you're just so enamored by the information you're getting and just the positive things that are happening in our community that it's exciting to get involved and you want to vote. You want your voice to matter. So we hope we can help drive participation, again, through our ability to communicate with the broader public.
Great information, great job.
Thanks, Shannon.
Are those pieces available on your website?
Which one?
Your CIP and the water?
I can put these on. This is the city, so I have to make sure it's okay with Sam. But I think that's, for example, things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, get them all up there.
Yeah, I think the city probably would not have any
Yeah.
problem sharing that information. It would be a benefit to them and might create more interest on CIP nights when they get things going, so. Okay, good.
Just as a point of reference for some of us who are not always up to date on CIP and all these other things, somewhere on that document it ought to say what CIP is.
Yeah, if it's public facing, we do need to do that.
Okay.
But it's more fun to make them.
I understand acronyms are awesome,
We don't create them.
I understand.
We just listen to them.
but you have to explain them to us.
That's right.
That's when you just nod your head and.
Yeah, that's a nice one of these.
I understand, yeah, I
Want one of
understand.
those sips.
Figure that deal out, huh?
Okay. I don't have any new business on my agenda.
I do not
You
either.
do not have, okay. Under old business, we're still working on childcare.
We are. We've had some very positive momentum moving forward. And we had a follow-up meeting last week with Dr. Carlin and got some really good guidance from the school district itself. He'd had some discussions with his board. So he has asked us to compile a completed, if you will, comprehensive presentation and gave us some pointers on some of the things that he knew his board would be specifically interested in and wanted to ensure that we bring that information with us. But he is going to set us up to do a presentation actually to the school board. And that is really the next big piece in that is really getting the buy-in of the school district and being able to work together. We've been very pleased in our research and in the development of the child care initiative. It's become very obvious that we can really impact our student readiness, kindergarten readiness, which we know greatly impacts their educational success and educational attainment. So we are very pleased that by kind of getting forced to deal with this issue, if you will, because of the shortage and how it was impacting our workforce, it really has created another opportunity for us to change the future of our community truly forever. It gives us really that input into something that we maybe wouldn't have recognized as being that important to the giant scope of things, but we all know that our workforce is greatly impacted by the educational success that our young people have. So we're very pleased that we've had the opportunity to work on this, and we feel confident going forward that we've created the very best possible solution to that, and that we'll be able to get everybody on board with that, if you will. So we're very excited about where we are. We'll let you know when we're doing that presentation to the school board, and obviously we'd be happy to have any and all of you that want to attend there as well.
Mr. Chairman, on new business, on September the 19th, in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, we'll be conducting Black Hills and City of Garden City and Spark Natural Gas will be conducting a CNG 101, kind of going over with the trucking businesses and the businesses in the community about compressed natural gas and their opportunities in Feeney County. We're also inviting communities from outside the Feeney County. Dodge City is looking at putting in their own station, and they're looking at converting their city trash trucks and some of their vehicles in the city of Dodge City. So we're doing our part. The city received a grant, and it's part of the criteria in receiving the grant that they have a session to go over those opportunities. So we're helping them through that process, and we'll be doing that from 9 o'clock till noon. Just what we've invited Clean Cities out from Kansas City, and we'll have the City of Garden City there talking about their refuge trucks and the opportunities they've had with that. So something that may create some excitement in the community. We intend to send out invitations to probably the entire chamber folks and the members, and seeing if we can't solicit some.
That be held in your meeting
Actually, we'll be held
facility
at the
or
Clarion Inn, right in the same facility where the breakfast will be. So it'll be right after the breakfast, and we'll set up the tables and all of that immediately after the chamber breakfast, and that's where it'll be located at.
Okay, September 19th, 9 o'clock. All right. Anything else we need to cover? That pretty well covers the agenda. Our next meeting date will be September 26th. Things to note that the office will be closed on Labor Day, September the 3rd, and that Lana will be out of the office for basically that week. Be in Washington, D.C. She'll be out of the office tomorrow, be back in on Friday.
Here at work?
No, not very often, but yes, if you want to see her, you need to schedule an appointment.
I found that out.
All right. If there's nothing else to come before our board meeting, I would like to have probably a 30-minute executive session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting to reconvene in executive session.
I so move.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, we are adjourned.